At exactly 30 Hodor a.m., the knock came. Not loud, not rushed, certain. Alara froze in her bed, breath trapped in her chest, staring at the ceiling of her tiny house as the sound echoed again, slow, deliberate, impossible to ignore. No one knocked at this hour, not in Raven Hollow. Not unless something had gone terribly wrong. Her wolf stirred, uneasy, afraid. She wrapped her shawl tighter around herself and crept toward the door, every instinct screaming that whatever waited outside would change her life forever. The night air pressed in through the cracks, heavy with moonlight and power she could feel in her bones. When she opened the door, the forest went silent. A man stood on her doorstep, tall, broad, wrapped in shadow and silver light. His golden eyes locked onto hers, burning with a knowing that made her knees weak. The moon seemed to bow behind him. "You sent me a letter," he said calmly. Her heart shattered. The anonymous letter she was supposed to burn. The letter written in weakness, in longing, in truth. The letter meant for no one, and somehow delivered to the most dangerous man alive. The Lycan King had come himself, and fate had decided there would be no turning back. The letter that was never meant to be read. The night Raven Hollow breathed differently when secrets were written. Moonlight spilled like silver ink across the small attic room where Alara Moonfen sat hunched over a crooked wooden desk, her fingers trembling as she held the pen. The house creaked beneath her, old, tired, forgotten, much like the Omega girl who lived inside it. Outside, the forest whispered. Alara swallowed hard and stared at the paper. She had never planned to write this letter. It had begun as a foolish exercise, something the elders suggested to release emotional burdens. Write your truth, they said, then burn it, no harm done. But Alara's truth was dangerous, because her truth involved him. The Lycan King, the ruler of all 13 packs, the monster of legends, the alpha whose name was never spoken aloud after midnight. King Kale Draven. Her pen scratched softly as she wrote, each word bleeding honesty she had buried for years. To the man who owns the moon, you do not know me, and you never will. I am weak where you are powerful, invisible where you are worshipped. Yet every full moon, I feel you like the world is holding its breath for you. Alara paused, heart racing. She shouldn't continue, but she did. They say you have no mercy, that your heart is carved from ice and war. But if that is true, why does the moon soften when it belongs to you? Why does my wolf, small, broken, unwanted, howl your name in her sleep? Her breath hitched. She pressed her palm to her chest as if to quiet the ache there. If fate is cruel, then you are its sharpest blade. And if mates exist, then perhaps I am cursed to love a king who will never look down far enough to see me. Tears blurred the ink. Alara folded the letter quickly, as if ashamed of it, and shoved it into an envelope. No name, no mark, no seal. I'll burn it tomorrow, she told herself. But fate had already leaned closer. The mistake. The next morning came with frost and exhaustion. Alara rushed through the village square, basket on her arm, mind foggy from another sleepless night. Omegas weren't meant to draw attention, but mistakes didn't care about rank. At the message post, a tall iron stand where villagers dropped letters for traveling messengers, Alara reached into her basket. Her fingers froze. The envelope was gone. Her heart plummeted. No. She spun, searching through herbs and bread and cloth, but dread settled like iron in her veins. The letter, her letter. Before she could stop herself, she watched a cloaked messenger seal the bag and mount his horse, bound for the Lycan Citadel. Alara's knees weakened. That letter, she whispered. That letter was supposed to be ashes. The forest answered with silence. The king who never slept. Far beyond Raven Hollow, where mountains cut the sky and stone towers pierced the clouds, King Kyle Draven stood alone on his balcony. The Lycan King did not sleep. He watched the moon like a predator watches prey, broad-shouldered and tall, scars mapping his skin like ancient wars. Kyle was power wrapped in flesh. His golden eyes glowed faintly in the dark, inhuman, eternal. A messenger knelt behind him. Your Majesty, an anonymous letter, no crest. Kale turned slowly. No scent, he repeated. Unheard of, he took the letter. The moment his fingers touched the paper, his wolf stirred low, alert, restless. He read, once, twice, then a third time. Each word struck deeper than the last. Someone had seen him. Not the crown, not the monster, but the moon inside him. His jaw tightened. My wolf howls your name." The balcony railing cracked beneath his grip. For the first time in centuries, the Lycan King felt something dangerously close to recognition and longing. "Find her," Kale said quietly. The night trembled. 300 a.m. Raven Hollow slept. Alara did not. She lay curled beneath thin blankets, heart pounding for reasons she couldn't name. The air felt charged, thick, electric. Then, knock, sharp, heavy, final. Alara bolted upright. Another knock followed, the wood of the front door groaning under the force. Her breath caught. No one came at this hour. She crept down the stairs, each step screaming in the silence. Her hand shook as she reached for the latch. When she opened the door, the world changed. A man stood beneath the moon, tall as legend, cloaked in shadow and silver light. Golden eyes locked onto hers with devastating intensity. The forest bowed. Her wolf whimpered. "Good evening," the stranger said, voice deep and dangerous. "You wrote me a letter." The Lara's blood turned to ice. The Lycan King had found her. And fate had arrived at 3 a.m. The king steps inside. Alara couldn't breathe. The man at her door wasn't just powerful, he commanded the night itself. Moonlight curved around his shoulders like it belonged there. As if the sky had chosen him as its heir, his presence pressed against her chest, heavy and undeniable. "You're mistaken," she whispered, though her voice betrayed her. "I didn't." Cal Draven's gaze flicked past her into the small, fragile house. One look told him everything. Omega, poor, unprotected, and trembling. "You did," he said calmly, "and you don't lie well." The wind stilled. Even the forest seemed to listen. Alara's fingers tightened around the doorframe. "I never meant for it to be sent. It was anonymous. I swear." Kale stepped forward. The porch creaked under his weight. Every instinct in her screamed to run, but her feet stayed rooted. Her wolf, weak and half-formed, pressed forward inside her chest, confused, curious. "Dangerous." "I don't accept apologies at doors," Kale said. "Invite me inside?" Her heart slammed. Old laws stirred, ancient binding. Sacred. To invite an alpha, a Lycan King, into one's home was to offer trust, shelter, sanctuary, or surrender. I can't," Alara said, barely audible. Kyle's brow furrowed. For a moment something unreadable flickered across his face, not anger, disappointment. The moon slid behind a cloud. Then, softly, "You already did," he said. He reached into his cloak and withdrew the letter. Her letter. "My wolf crossed half the world for these words," Kale continued. "That is an invitation, little Omega. One stronger than any spoken aloud." Silence wrapped around them. Alara's knees weakened. "Please," she said. "If the pack sees you here." "They won't," Kale replied. "Not unless I want them to." He leaned down slightly, lowering himself to her level. His voice dropped, rougher now. "I am not here to punish you." Her eyes lifted to his at that. "Then why are you here?" Kale studied her face as if memorizing it. Ink, dark hair loose around her shoulders, eyes like storm-washed glass, fear battling a quiet defiance. "Because," he said, "no one has spoken to me like that in 300 years. He straightened. "Invite me inside, Alara Moonfin." Her name, she stiffened. "You know who I am." "I know everything," he said, "except why my wolf recognizes yours." Her breath stuttered. Slowly, like fate pulling the words from her lips, she stepped back. "You may enter." The threshold shimmered. Kyle crossed it, the house exhaled. A king in an Omega's home. The door closed behind him with a soft, final click. Cal removed his cloak, folding it neatly despite the cramped space. The room felt impossibly small now, like the walls were aware of who stood between them. Alara hovered near the stairs, unsure where to put herself. "You don't have guards?" she asked quietly. "I don't need them," Kale replied. He glanced around, the worn furniture, the patched floor, the single flickering lamp. "You live alone?" "Yes." Own mated. Her cheeks flushed. "Yes." Kale's jaw tightened. "That is unusual," he said, "for an Omega." Her voice sharpened. "Or for one no one wanted." The words slipped out before she could stop them. The air shifted. Kale turned fully toward her now. "No Omega is unwanted," he said, voice low and absolute. "Your pack failed you." Emotion burned behind her eyes, unwanted and dangerous. She changed the subject. "You read my letter." "I did. And..." Kale approached the desk, the same one she'd written at. He traced the surface with his fingers. "You wrote truth," he said. "Raw, reckless, honest." He looked back at her. "And you accuse me of having a heart." Her lips trembled. Do you? Kyle laughed once, short, bitter. I buried it beneath wars and crowns, he said. Yet somehow you unearthed it with ink and fear. He stepped closer. Too close. Alara's back brushed the wall. You should be afraid of me, Kale murmured. Every instinct you have should be screaming. It is, she whispered. Then why hasn't your wolf fled? She swallowed. Because she's staring at yours. Kale froze. Slowly, carefully, he let his wolf rise. The air thickened. Power rolled outward, ancient and immense. Alara gasped as something inside her answered. Small, flickering, but alive. Recognition. Impossible. Kyle's eyes widened, just slightly. No, he breathed. That's not possible. What? Alara asked, his voice dropped to a whisper. Omegas like you do not call kings in their sleep. Her chest ached. I didn't choose this. Neither did I. A beat passed, then footsteps outside. Voices, pack members. Kale's expression hardened instantly. They've found me, Alara said, panic rising. If they see you here. Kale turned toward the door, all warmth gone, replaced by the king. No one touches what is under my protection. Her heart skipped. Protection. He glanced back at her. For tonight, he said. At least. The door rattled. A voice shouted, open up. Kale smiled, slow, dangerous. Stay behind me, he ordered. The Lycan King stepped forward, and the world braced for impact. The pack learns who stands at her door. The knocking turned into pounding. Open this door, Alara! A man shouted, we know someone's inside. Alara's heart hammered so hard it hurt. Her pack had never cared where she was or what she did, until now. Until power stood beneath her roof. Kyle lifted one finger. Silence fell instantly. The house itself seemed to obey him. He moved to the door with unhurried steps, every inch the king, every breath a warning. Alara stood frozen behind him, her fingers twisting into her sleeves. Kale opened the door. Cold night air rushed in, and with it fear. 5 wolves stood on the porch, half shifted, eyes glowing, teeth bared. At their center was Beta Rourke, broad and scarred, his expression turning from anger to disbelief in a heartbeat. The moonlight hit Kale's face. Gold eyes, crown mark scarred his throat, the ancient power that made even alphas bow. Rourke dropped to one knee. So did the others. My king? Rourke stammered. We didn't know? Kyle's voice cut through the night like a blade. Clearly. He stepped forward onto the porch. The boards groaned, protesting the weight of his authority. You came to an Omega's home? Kale said. On the dead of night, uninvited, with hostile intent. Rourke's head bowed lower. She belongs to our pack, your majesty. A low growl rippled from Kale's chest. Belongs? He echoed. Alara flinched. Kale turned his head slightly, just enough to speak to her without looking away from the kneeling wolves. Is that how they treat you? He asked quietly. As property. Alara swallowed, shame and truth tangling in her throat. Yes. The word landed like a verdict. Kale's wolf surged forward, fury rolling off him in waves. The ground seemed to tremble. Listen carefully, Kale said, voice deadly calm. This Omega is under my protection. Rourke looked up, shocked. Your Majesty, she's unmarked. Unmated, surely she can't be. Kale's eyes flashed. Finish that sentence, he warned softly, and I will end you. Rourke shut his mouth. Kale continued, from this moment on, no member of Raven Hollow will lay a hand on her. No commands, no punishments, no forced bonds. He leaned closer, eyes burning. If I hear otherwise, I will dismantle this pack stone by stone. The wolves bowed until their foreheads touched the wood. Yes, your Majesty. Leave. They didn't hesitate. As the forest swallowed them, silence crept back in. Alara's legs finally gave out. She sank onto the floor, breath coming in shaky gasps. Kale turned instantly at her side. He crouched in front of her, the Lycan King kneeling in a broken Omega's house. Look at me, he said gently. She did. The fury in his eyes was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. Concern. They won't hurt you again, he said. Her laugh broke. You can't stay forever. No, he agreed. Which is why this changes everything. He rose, offering his hand. Come with me. Her breath caught. To the Citadel? Yes. I don't belong there. Kyle tilted his head, studying her as if the answer was written into her bones. My wolf disagrees. Her wolf stirred again, stronger now, braver. For the first time in her life, it didn't feel small. What would I be to you? She asked softly. Kale hesitated. A heartbeat passed, then another. I don't know yet, he admitted. But you are something rare, something my world will not ignore. Footsteps echoed again, lighter this time. Elara stiffened. More wolves. Cal's jaw tightened. No. The air shifted. A different presence entered the clearing, sharp, cold, ancient. Cal turned toward the window. She's here, he said. Ooh, Elara whispered. Cal's voice darkened. The Queen Mother. Elara's blood ran cold. The most powerful woman in the Lycan realm. And she was coming for her, the queen who smiles like a blade. The air turned colder. Not the cold of night, but the cold of judgment. Elara felt it first, crawling over her skin like invisible frost. Her wolf whimpered and curled inward, instincts screaming danger. Cal straightened slowly. Every trace of softness vanished from him. The Queen Mother does not visit unannounced. Elara whispered. She does when she disapproves. Cal replied. A soft tap 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 echoed outside, measured footsteps, unhurried, certain. The porch did not creak under her weight, it bowed. Cal opened the door before she could knock. She stood there draped in silver and midnight, her dark hair woven with runes older than the packs themselves. Her eyes, pale gold, colder than Cal's, swept over the house, then settled on Elara. Queen Mother Lysara Draven, the woman who had ruled beside monsters and outlived them all. So this is her, Lysara said pleasantly. The girl who writes love letters to kings. Elara's face burned, Cal's voice hardened. Choose your words carefully, Mother. Lysara smiled, it did not reach her eyes. I felt the bond stir, she said, faint, unformed, disturbing. She stepped inside without invitation. The threshold flared, and then dimmed. Lysara glanced down at it, amused. Oh, you let him in. She looked at Elara. How intimate. Kyle moved between them instantly. She is under my protection. For now, Lysara agreed. But protection is not a claim. Her gaze pierced Elara. What are you, child? Elara swallowed. An Omega. Lysara tilted her head. No, you are a problem, Cal growled. Lysara raised a hand. Peace, my son. If I wanted her dead, this house would already be ash. Elara's knees shook. Lysara circled her slowly, like a scholar examining a flawed artifact. Small wolf. Lysara murmured. Quiet power, hidden resonance. Her lips curved. How fascinating. Stop, Cal snapped. Lysara paused, surprised. Then she laughed softly. Oh, Kyle, she said. You've never looked at anyone the way you look at her. She leaned close to Elara, voice a whisper sharp as glass. Do you know what happens when an unbonded Omega awakens a Lycan King's wolf? Elara shook her head. Umpires burn. Cal's fist clenched. Lysara straightened. You cannot keep her here. The packs will sense the shift. Councils will gather. Bloodlines will question. She is not a pawn, Cal said. She is unproven, Lysara countered. And if she truly carries what I feel, her eyes narrowed, she may be something far more dangerous than an Omega. Elara found her voice. I never asked for this. Lysara looked at her, really looked. No, she said slowly. You didn't. For the first time, something like uncertainty flickered in the Queen Mother's gaze. Then it vanished. You will come to the Citadel, Lysara declared. Both of you. Cal stiffened. I decide where I take her? Lysara's smile sharpened. Not when the balance of the realm is at stake. She turned toward the door. Prepare her, Lysara said. The Citadel will judge what she is worth. Elara's breath caught. Judge. Lysara paused at the threshold. If she survives, she added lightly. Then she was gone. The knight rushed back in, gasping. Elara's hands trembled. She wants me dead, Elara whispered. Cal turned to her, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. No, he said. She wants to control you. His thumb brushed away a tear she hadn't felt fall. And I won't let her. Her wolf surged, stronger, brighter. What am I to you? Elara asked again, voice shaking. Cal rested his forehead against hers, just barely touching. You are the question my kingdom feared, he said softly. And the answer my wolf has already chosen. Outside, the moon flared brighter. The bond, still unnamed, still dangerous, tightened its invisible thread. And somewhere deep within Elara, something ancient began to wake. The Omega who should not exist. The journey to the Citadel began before dawn. Mist clung to the forest like breath held too long, and the road beneath Cal's horse seemed to bend out of respect rather than terrain. Elara rode behind him, her hands gripping the leather strap at his waist, every sense overwhelmed. She had never left Raven Hollow. Now she was riding toward the heart of the Lycan realm, toward judgment. Kale's presence was a wall of heat and strength in front of her. Each time the horse shifted, she felt the solid reality of him, grounding her panic. "You're shaking," Kale said quietly. "I'm not," she lied. His hand covered hers, firm and warm. "You are. But fear is not weakness." She swallowed. "The Queen Mother said I might not survive." Kale's jaw tightened. "She says many things." The citadel emerged from the fog like a beast carved from stone, black towers cloying the sky, runes glowing faintly along ancient walls. Wolves lined the gates, alphas and enforcers alike, all falling to one knee as Kale rode through. But their eyes followed Alara, curious, suspicious, hungry. Whispers rippled like wind through grass. And Omega with the king, unmarked. Elara's wolf curled protectively, but did not retreat. The chamber of blood and truth. The trial chamber was circular, its floor etched with old magic. 13 thrones formed a ring, one for each ruling pack. Kale's throne stood highest, carved from obsidian and silver. Elara stood alone at the center. The circle ignited. Heat surged through her veins, sharp and bright. She gasped, clutching her chest. Kale surged forward. "Stay back," Lysara commanded from her seat. "This magic will only answer her." Elara squeezed her eyes shut. "I am not nothing," she told herself. "I survived Raven Hollow." The runes flared. Images burst into the air, visions spinning like shards of memory. A moon split by shadow, a wolf with silver veins and burning eyes, and Omega standing in blood but unbroken. Gasps echoed around the chamber. "That's impossible," one alpha whispered. "The prophecy," another murmured. Lysara stood slowly. "The silent Luna," she said. "The forgotten line." Alara fell to her knees, breath ragged. "I don't understand." Lysara approached, eyes alight with something between fear and awe. "Long ago," the Queen Mother said, "there was a bloodline erased from history. Omegas born not to submit, but to balance kings." The chamber shook. "They were hunted," Lysara continued, "because they could awaken or destroy a Lycan King." Kale's breath left him. His wolf roared. Lysara looked at Alara. "You are one of them." Silence crashed down. Alara stared at her hands. They were glowing faintly, silver light threading through her skin. "I was beaten," Alara whispered. "Nord, starved. If I was powerful, why didn't it save me?" Lysara's voice softened just slightly. "Because your power was asleep." Kale stepped into the circle. The runes flared violently. "Kale!" Several alphas shouted. But the magic did not reject him. It welcomed him. Kale knelt in front of Alara, ignoring gasps, ignoring crowns. "You survived because you are stronger than any of them knew," he said, "and because fate is cruel but not blind." He took her hands. The chamber erupted in light. The bond snapped tight, not claimed, not marked, but recognized. Lysara exhaled slowly. "So it is true," she said. "The Lycan King and the silent Luna Omega." Alara looked at Kale, tears streaming down her face. "I don't want to be a weapon." Kale's thumb brushed her knuckles. "Then you won't be." He stood, pulling her up with him. "She is under my protection," Kale said to the thrones. "Not as property, not as leverage," his voice thundered, "but as my equal." The chamber bowed, not to Alara's rank, but to her power. Lysara watched them with sharp, unreadable eyes. "This changes the realm," she said. Kale didn't look away from Alara. "Then let it change," he replied. The moon outside the citadel flared brighter than it had in centuries. And deep within Alara, the silent Luna opened her eyes.